Hi everyone, this is Lizzie. Today I'm going to share with you how to make this Winter Village project. I'll be using the new Winter Village stamp set, which is part of the new release from lawnfawn, as well as the new shadow box card die. So I'm going to start by inking up my images and doing some coloring. I'll be using lawnfawn's jet black ink, which is a Copic friendly ink. I'm going to stamp that onto some white cardstock using my MISTI stamping tool, and I'm going to stamp that a second time so that I get a really nice crisp black impression. And then once everything is stamped, I'm going to go ahead and start my Copic coloring. So I've listed the colors that I'm using at the top of the screen in case you're interested. I did use the same colors on multiple images so that everything looks nice and cohesive. And I am going to finish getting this colored and we'll be back when everything is done. So now that the images are all colored, I use the coordinating dies to die cut them out. And you can see all the images that we have here to make the project. So I went ahead and did some additional die cutting off camera. I used the shadow box card die, cut 2 of those long panels, which creates the box. And then I'm going to be using one of the rectangles that's included in the die set to die cut the window. Now I'm going to be using my bone folder to score along those score lines so that everything is nice and crisply folded. It'll help when assembling the card. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some super strong adhesive. I like to use Scor Tape on all of the flaps of the box so that when the recipient opens and closes the box, everything stays together because of the tape that's so strong. Now I'm going to partially assemble the box now, and I'm going to take those 2 long pieces and take off one of the adhesive tabs and then line that up so that it creates one long rectangle. And you can see the finished box will eventually be put together like that. Now before we assemble the box, I wanted to create some snowy hills, so I'm using this chunky glitter from lawnfawn. I really love it. It's really sparkly and I think it creates a lot of fun dimension for this card in particular. I'm using some multi-matte medium and just running that along the top of the hills. And then I'm going to kind of smooth that out so that there's not too much adhesive on, and then apply that chunky glitter onto the hills. Now the very last thing I need to do before I can assemble my box is create the background, and I use the shadow box card die to perfectly cut out that background piece from some mermaid cardstock, and then I use this starry backdrop die and die cut that so that I have kind of a wintry scene behind the village. I'm just going to poke out all of those little pieces and then apply some liquid glue and adhere that to the back of the box. So now the box is finally ready to finish being assembled, and I'm going to go ahead and peel off one of the pieces of Scor tape on both of those hills and position them sort of in the middle of the box, and then I'm going to lay them flat so that they're lined up perfectly. I'm going to pull off that other side of adhesive, and then I'm going to fold that flap of the box over so that the adhesive sticks onto those hills and I know they're perfectly positioned and flat. Then I'm going to peel off that extra tab and the box is assembled. So you can see it pops up and there you have it, and everything folds flat really nicely, and I'm just going to kind of fold that back and forth a little bit so that when it goes into an envelope it really can stay nice and flat. I'll make sure those tabs are well adhered, and then now we can finally start assembling the little scene for the box. So I'm just using some liquid glue and positioning the little houses sort of either in back or in front of the hills. Okay, so now that all the inside is adhered to the shadow box card, I'm going to start working on my sentiment. So I'm going to be using this 6x6 pattern paper, and it has these great stitched sort of sweater looking patterns. I'm going to be using this red pattern. I went ahead and cut a strip of that, and then I'm going to be heat embossing the sentiment, which says Happy Holidays. So I'll stamp that in some Versamark ink. And then I'm going to apply some white heat embossing powder from Lawnfawn. And then I can go ahead and use my heat tool and melt all of that embossing powder. Then I'll be using one of these banner dies, which fits nicely around the greeting, and die cut that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that onto the front of the shadow box card with some liquid glue. Alright, so here is the finished shadow box card die. I just really love the dimension that it creates. I love that it folds flat for mailing. It's just a really clever die, and I love the way the little town looks in it. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!